With the selection of a jury in the Sean Diddy Combs case almost complete, prosecutors are preparing for opening arguments on Monday. But they admit there's a snag. One of their key witnesses against the rapper appears to have gone missing. This comes as we learn that Combs' ex-girlfriend, who was seen on video being assaulted by the rapper, is pregnant.
Diddy's trial is about to begin, but it's already getting complicated. One of the key witnesses, referred to as Victim 3, has gone missing. Prosecutors haven't been able to contact her, which poses a serious challenge. Losing such a central figure could significantly weaken the case.
Sean Diddy Combs' trial backing out? Victim number 3, as she's called, was set to testify against the music mogul. The name of victim number 3 was going to be revealed when she took the stand, but the woman has apparently gone missing, and prosecutors say they've been unable to reach her.
People just get nervous, and this person could just be nervous and just has had second thoughts.
If the prosecutor can't find this witness, how might it affect the case?
Look, I don't think it's going to have a tremendous effect. The prosecution is going to call a number of alleged victims. So look, this is just one less.
Someone else is also getting cold feet. A juror sent an email to the judge asking to be removed from the panel for issues of personal well-being.
Legal experts say the disappearance of a crucial witness puts intense pressure on the prosecution. One lawyer noted that in high-profile cases, people sometimes back out due to fear or stress. Still, the prosecution may be able to proceed if their case doesn't rely solely on her. With only a few victims willing to testify publicly despite numerous claims and lawsuits, her absence could shift the trial's momentum. A former FBI agent also mentioned that protections for witnesses are likely in place.
These testimonies are going to be extremely important. Building a case against someone as high profile as Diddy is not an easy job. So I'm going to bring in former FBI agent Bobby Chacon to talk more about this. So off the bat, Bobby, how do you build a case against a celebrity as well-resourced and powerful as Diddy?
Well, it takes a lot, Sylvia, as you know, because the allegations in this case range from like 2004 to 2024. So this is going to be going on for 20 years, and they're finally getting around to charging him now and trying now. That's because it's so difficult to get people who are not afraid to come forward. This person was powerful. They were rich. They had a lot of influence. They were allegedly violent. So all of those things add up to making it very difficult for investigators to get people to talk to them about these. You add in the fact that many of these things are embarrassing. They're of a sexual nature. They're private. They take place behind closed doors. And that adds to the reticence of witnesses coming forward and talking about these things. And so investigators have to do a lot of long, hard work in getting these witnesses to trust them, number one, to make sure they feel like they are being treated, not as a pawn in a game to get Diddy, but as people that really care, that the prosecution cares about these people. And so you bring in victim witness people who are trained really and have the background in talking to people who are maybe victims of alleged sexual violence. And so you bring in specialists that kind of can talk to people like that and get them to open up about these things and to trust the investigators and trust the prosecutors, that they're just not going to be thrust into a situation. You have to get them to trust you so that if someone does make a threat, even if it's veiled, people can do that on social media now. They can say things that are kind of a little bit wonky sometimes, or these veiled threats. So if the witnesses that you're developing are comfortable enough with you, they will bring those threats to you, or those situations where they might feel threatened. You always have on the federal level, we have the witness protection program, right, which is run by the U.S. Marshal Service. That's kind of a very extreme step, because that's somebody you change their identity, you move them to another part of the country, they're not allowed any contact with previous people in their lives. So it's the witness protection program is one of the more extreme steps that you take. But there are other steps you can take to ensure the witness that they're not going to be subject to that. If anyone does make a statement that's even considered something like that, you send a team to go out and investigate and to question that person and to get them to maybe make a retraction or to kind of back off a little bit. So you do have to do a good job at making sure the witnesses are comfortable that if anything should happen that they feel uncomfortable about, they bring it to you, and then you have to address it in the ways that are available to you.
Diddy is facing serious federal charges. Authorities allege he ran a criminal enterprise through his businesses, including Bad Boy Entertainment, using intimidation, threats, and various forms of abuse, emotional, physical, and sexual. The indictment also suggests he may have tried to intimidate or retaliate against witnesses, even from behind bars.
Well, I mean, on the surface, if the prosecutor's claims are true, this seems like pretty much textbook witness tampering, right? I mean, it appears to be an effort to either, in some cases, intimidate witnesses from testifying against him, or there have been other reports of sort of inducing people to make statements in his defense. There was some allegation that in one instance this was a statement that he, in essence, dictated or drafted with a woman who made a statement that was attempting to rebut one of the accusers, I believe, in a civil case against him. I mean, witness tampering is bad. The things that Sean Combs is accused of are terrible. He pleads his innocence. The justice system will presumably work its way through.
It is likely that there is some underlying truth to at least some of the allegations. There might be a lot of underlying truth to a lot of the allegations. There's probably some bandwagoning going on. We spoke to an attorney who's for one of the alleged victims of Diddy a few weeks ago. I believe Amber Nomiki and I did, and they said they had calls, they had information, they had people, hundreds of them, come forward. They're not going to represent all of them. They're which ones have evidence that can be compelling. What are the best cases to bring that? I also saw a story in the New York Post. This is from a week ago, about Diddy stuff that I wanted to read the headline of. Woman claims she saw minors dressed as Harajuku Barbies at Sean Diddy Combs' freak-off parties, what he was describing there to Conan so many years ago. Said these were sex-fueled parties with what she initially thought were little people dressed as Japanese Barbies. And she said, this is her talking to TMZ, are those midgets? And she actually thinks they were kids dressed up in sexy.
Oh, gross.
So again, that's just from someone who provided this information to TMZ for a documentary. Yeah. But pretty disgusting.
It is. No, that's.
He's charged with racketeering and transporting individuals for prostitution, among others. If convicted, Diddy could face 15 years to life in prison. He maintains his innocence. Jury selection has already faced delays as many potential jurors are hesitant to participate in such a high-profile case. Johnny Depp's attorney, Ben Chu, offered insights into what kind of jurors Diddy's team might prefer.
I think you want somebody who wants to serve, someone eager to serve, because that suggests that person might be inclined toward a celebrity like Diddy. I would also, in this case, I would want men, not because men support abuse, but I could see this being very difficult for women jurors. I would want younger jurors as well. I don't know that older jurors would be good for him.
Do you care where they get their news? Do you care if they go on social media?
I wouldn't care so much about social media. Certainly watching you on Law and Crime would be a real problem. But no, I wouldn't care too much. I mean, in fact, if they were reading the celebrity media, TMZ, Rolling Stone, that might be an encouraging thing for Diddy's counsel.
Now, Ben, according to the court today, they expect preemptory challenges on Friday.
Diddy's defense plans to argue that some of his past relationships were not one-sided, suggesting mutual wrongdoing. But legal experts warn this could backfire. What really matters is the power dynamic. If Diddy used his fame and money to control others, that's still abuse. In cases where people resisted, like Aubrey O'Day, things allegedly got dangerous.
I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me. Not talent-wise, but in other areas. It's difficult when you're that young to understand your worth as a woman through the men that I was around, and that was very traumatic. I don't think any of us have healed from that. Diddy would be like, you're not hot anymore, like what happened? You don't have anything, like you don't have any curves. You're looking like you're not looking like, I can't get people to think that you're my good-looking person. And there was no Me Too at that time. There was no protecting anyone at that time. You signed a million NDAs and a million contracts that took away all your rights.
Do that one. He said he was going to drug them all out and pimp them out.
Aubrey O'Day recounted her traumatic experience, saying she didn't comply with what was expected of her non-talent related demands. She said Diddy would belittle her looks and worth, in an era with no Me Too protections and binding NDAs that stripped away her rights.
Is that he need to take his counsel advice. Because if he think he's going to get out of this from the federal government, he out his mind. They in the process of plea bargaining, trying to do a plea bargain session with him, and he not taking it. That's probably why one of the lawyers jumped off the case. Remember Benjamin Bradford, his first lawyer with the Cassie situation? He said, give her the 10 million and make this go away, brother. He ended up giving her 30 million. He's not taking the lawyer's advice. 9 times out of 10, they probably got him a good plea bargain. Yo, listen to me, we can give you 15 years. 10 or 15 years. You do that, you come out, you only have to do like 12, 13. Come out to a halfway house. You still can live some of your life out as a free man. He don't want to hear it. So it is what it is. The federal government do not want to go to court. 9 times out of 10, they want a plea bargain with you. You understand? You accept the plea, you accept the time, you go ahead, you save the government money, you save them time and effort and manpower. If you don't believe that that white guy was a plant, then something is wrong with you. He done sold them enough drug, but they haven't hit him with that charge. They haven't did him with that charge yet. Or that we know of. If you don't believe that they're gonna try to hit him with those guns in there, they saving all that for last. The drugs, the guns. They'll do another superseding indictment and add those two up if he don't take the plea. If he don't take the plea bargain to the sex trafficking or whatever, stuff like that, they're gonna say, okay, let's add the guns to it and let's add the drugs to it.
How you feel about Keefe D? He out here crying to come home, man.
Keefe D, I think is a mistravesty of justice that Keefe D is still in jail without a bail, or they're not making his bail low enough for him to go home. For the fact of the matter is that Keefe D was told to say something by a LAPD officer who was writing a book, doing a movie, and making himself rich off of an event that happened in our culture. And that he's in jail because the cops said a lot of these things first.
Gan Deal revealed disturbing allegations, claiming Diddy planned to exploit her girl group, effectively trying to pimp them out under the guise of a music career.
They will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're gonna make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're gonna name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you.
Van Arsdale isn't the only one suing Diddy. At least 12 different lawyers are representing people who filed lawsuits against him. These claims come from many different people, places, and time periods. One lawsuit even claims LeBron was involved.
There is an explosive new lawsuit that I'm going to break down for you, filed by a man named Joseph Manzaro in Florida. and this is actually in Florida federal court. So he is actually identifying himself in this lawsuit. He's not using a pseudonym. And he claims that he is a survivor of human trafficking and sexual exploitation, and more specifically, as outlined in the complaint, quote, plaintiff was drugged, transported against his will, and sexually maimed as a victim of a coercive and organized criminal enterprise beginning in 2015, orchestrated and facilitated by the defendants. The pattern of threats, concealment, manipulation, and psychological coercion persisted for years, extending the statute of limitations under federal tolling doctrines. Now, here is the kicker. Quote, high-profile individuals, including Jacob Arabo, Jay-Z, Gloria Estefan, LeBron James, and Beyonce Knowles Carter, are identified as witnesses due to their presence or knowledge of the events surrounding the freak-off orchestrated by defendant Diddy. Wow. And freak off, of course, is something that we've heard many times before, both in Combs' criminal case and other civil cases, to describe these prolonged sexual episodes, usually with sex workers. But Manzaro is suing Sean Combs. He is suing a man named Eric Mejias. He is suing Brendan Paul, who's been described in another lawsuit as Sean Combs' drug mule, Emilio Estefan, who is married to pop superstar Gloria Estefan, and Adria English, who filed her own lawsuit against Sean Combs, claiming she too was a victim of sex trafficking. By the way, it's interesting he's not suing these other celebrities that I mentioned, like Jay-Z and Beyonce and Gloria Estefan, possibly because he doesn't believe their alleged liability amounted to a civil claim, but seems to want to call them as witnesses at a trial, although I have to imagine they will do everything in their power to quash any subpoena should this case progress, and we'll talk a little bit more about whether or not it will.
Diddy's team may try to downplay a video showing him in a violent altercation with ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, framing it as a private argument. However, juries often react negatively when the defense tries to shift blame onto the victim. Cassie, now pregnant, is expected to testify under her real name, which could make her more sympathetic to jurors. Her size and condition might also work against any narrative suggesting she was equally responsible. Clip 9. Diddy, once a music mogul and billionaire, is now facing a wave of legal trouble. Attorney Andrew Van Arsdale represents 37 plaintiffs and says over 400 more potential claims are pending. Many victims hesitated to come forward due to fear of retaliation and Diddy's powerful influence. Van Arsdale's center has received nearly 27,000 calls about Diddy, about 15,000 of them considered credible.
The allegations implicate dozens of unidentified witnesses and alleged co-conspirators around the world, and some of the key witnesses to the supposed incidents are dead, basically meaning how can we defend against it? The defense is not even permitted to share the identities of the individuals described in the disclosure letter with Mr. Combs until April 18th, further hampering defense counsel's ability to investigate. Collectively, these new allegations require many months, if not years, to investigate, and if admitted, would require a series of mini-trials certain to double the length of a trial the government originally said would last 3 weeks. So this is an explosive allegation that on its face, I don't know if I necessarily disagree with. If they are bringing in evidence of uncharged conduct, wouldn't the defense have an opportunity to investigate it and challenge it? It seems like they're making a point. So if this evidence is allowed in, there is a chance this could delay the trial significantly. We all know Combs wants to go to trial, but how can he properly defend himself against this in just a few weeks?
New evidence linked to civil suits has emerged, possibly involving minors. While court documents are redacted, legal experts say the goal is to show a pattern of abuse. With over 30 lawsuits and video evidence, like the Cassie incident, many believe Diddy's conviction is only a matter of time.
Now to Sean Diddy Combs, looking to suppress evidence in his federal trial. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky is back with the story. Good morning again, Aaron.
And to you, Michael. You'll remember federal agents from Homeland Security investigations were hardly shy when they raided Sean Combs' opulent homes in Los Angeles and Miami, guns drawn. The jailed music mogul now argues those searches and other searches of his iCloud account, electronic devices and New York City hotel room following his arrest were unconstitutional. His lawyers argue evidence obtained through those searches must be suppressed. Diddy's lawyers say the government presented a grossly distorted picture of reality when applying for the search warrants, omitting certain facts and including salacious details from an unnamed producer that were never credible. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and prostitution charges. The defense is also arguing here his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, was a willing participant in drug-fueled sex performances called freak-offs, not coerced as prosecutors allege. This latest challenge to his case comes 3 months before trial, and as Combs loses one of his attorneys, Anthony Rico says under no circumstances can he continue to represent Combs. He offered no details about that decision, Robin.
Okay. All right, thanks to you, Aaron.
Diddy's legal team tried to suppress key evidence, including tapes and other materials seized from his mansion, arguing the search was illegal. The judge, however, ruled that all evidence is admissible. This means the infamous freak-off tapes may be played in court.